Thank you so much for chatting with me this morning. I really appreciate it. The first thing I want to talk to you about is this is a film by Johnny Ma, a filmmaker that I really love. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of times,
Oh
and
yeah.
he's just a wonderful person to talk to and be around. And I was wondering for you what it's like to be a part of the first film that he's done to take place in Canada, even though he is a Chinese Canadian filmmaker. This is his first film
Yeah,
set in Canada.
for sure. I think, first and foremost, I was a fan of his work, just to be able to just to be a fly on the wall in terms of watch his process. He's a creative genius. He is like such an eccentric yeah, just big brother, that's what it is. That's what he is to me. Yeah, just watch his process. He doesn't really have a process. For him, he's definitely someone who's like very, very open to, there's no one destination that he wants to get to. For him, it's just about, creating this sandbox for you to play in, where you could bring your own ideas, and he brings his ideas and you just collaborate. So to be able to collaborate with someone like him, yeah, what a gift. That's what I could say. Yeah.
남들처럼 남편이라도 있었으면 이런 일은 없었을 거 아니야. 걱정 마. 엄마가 좋은 사람 찾아줄게.
You swipe right for anyone that you like, and swipe left for those you don't like.
스와이프.
It's totally cool to send a sexy photo.
정말 아름다우세요. 여기 제 사진이에요.
Yeah, and it's also interesting that you're acting opposite someone like Kim Ho-jung, who has been around for a long time, has done pretty much every kind of film and television that
Yeah.
you could do in Korea and elsewhere in the world. So I was wondering what it's like to also be able to take your cues from such a veteran performer who's been around for so long and just has had this wealth of experience.
I think she was in Bong Joon-ho's first film, I believe. I think, yeah, and she just makes acting so easy, you know. Like the scenes that we've had, there's also one, that didn't make it into the film. Hopefully makes the director's cut. But with yeah, you just take it off of her, you know. Um, you take it off of her. She gives you so much. I think she's also a creative genius. She's so bold. She's so um her choices. I don't think I don't think it's even her choices. I think it's just like who she is. She's just an artist at heart. And to be able to just watch her do her thing, being off camera, or like on my day off, it was a masterclass. It was a masterclass. Yeah. Yeah. Just the amount of freedom that she, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
대화해보는 게 너무 오래간만이에요.
아드님하고는 한국말로 대화 안 하세요?
English is.
우리가 정말로 괜찮은 부모일까요?
And there's an interesting thing that goes on in the film between all of these characters, this kind of generational dynamic that I think a lot of people can see and empathize with in terms of, the stigma that exists around people from immigrant families and the partners that they choose, or in some cases don't choose. And I was wondering
Mhm.
for you what it's like to be a part of this film that kind of spans not just generational boundaries, but geographical boundaries and cultural boundaries, and talks about this thing that I think a lot of people experience, but you don't often see depicted on screen in this way.
Yeah, I think once again, just very grateful to be a part of this story that does so. I think that's so important. There's not a lot of films, like you said, that really portrays story like this. And to be a part of, because for me being Korean, me being born here, also understanding like this complex idea of identity and heritage, right? I think for me to be a part of a project like this and tell a story, just immensely thankful, to be a part of this project. Yeah.
And I think it's something that I think all of the cast members in the film probably bring their own
Mm.
experiences too. Did you guys ever really talk about that in terms of like where the film kind of ends and where your own personal experiences begin?
I think Johnny said it perfectly. There were not necessarily days where, we had trouble shooting a scene, but it was just like, hey, listen, like I casted you for a reason. So just trust that. When you're on set, just trust that. Don't worry about don't worry about, getting to a destination per se. Don't worry about getting the scene right. It's just about just trust that your essence and your energy is enough. And that's part of his creative genius, right? His as a creative, as a director, his ability to know that and to be compassionate and empathetic about that as well too. I think that's yeah, I feel like that's to answer your question, that's what's really rooted in. Yeah.
And another interesting cultural thing that I think this film shows through your character and through a lot of the other characters is you're playing someone who has lived in Canada for a long time, knows their way around Winnipeg, knows their way around everything.
Mhm.
But you're also up against characters that have, in the case of your character's father, have lived there for a long time but still hold on to traditions, or in the
Mhm.
case of the protagonist of this film, someone who's completely new to this place. So I was wondering for you what it's like to play that sort of aspect of something as a Canadian Korean actor who
Mhm.
probably runs into people all the time on different shoots that suffer from this kind of culture shock or aren't really used to things, and kind of what it's like to play someone who can kind of be a guide through this world to some
Yeah.
people that might seem really foreign to them.
Yeah, I think, for me, once again, when it comes to, playing man or this character, going back to yeah, just Johnny understanding, your experience. Because, I think even during the audition process, he's like, tell me about a little bit about yourself. And I remember reading the script or the audition sides and be like, man, like I know this character. Like I've had conversations or I've butt heads with my mother and my father about certain things, culturally, right?
Hmm.
And so yeah, just Johnny knowing that, hey, this is you. Just bring yourself. We'll slot you into this film. Just bring yourself. Yeah, I remember reading the sides and I was like, I remember getting super emotional about it, being like, how like it's like a lot of actors say, like, for me, when I read a script, like I feel like I was born to play this character. I wasn't necessarily born to play this character, but like for me, it was just, yeah, I understand him on a visceral level. I understand who this character is, and hopefully I'm able to bring a layered enough performance for it to show on screen. Yeah.
And would you say there's a layer of truth to playing a character like this that comes from having lived that experience and knowing
Oh, one
people in
one
that
thousand.
same situation?
1000%, 1000%. I think I was talking to the previous interviewer about not only being a Korean Canadian, but also trying to navigate what it's like to specifically live in Scarborough. I think that adds a whole different layer to it as well. Yeah, I think yeah, absolutely. I think that experience that I brought to the role. Yeah.
And the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about is you've been popping up in a lot of television series lately, which is interesting because they're these high profile series like Brilliant Minds and Sheriff Country,
Yeah.
that are these big international shows that are filmed in Toronto, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. And I was wondering
Yeah.
what it's like for you to work on these projects that are really high profile that straddle kind of both sides of the border right now.
Yeah, I think Brilliant Minds is supposed to be Brooklyn, and Sheriff Country is California. So I think for me, I don't know. As an actor, I was actually filming yesterday for Sheriff Country, just the immense amount of gratitude just to be working, especially with like today's climate, right? With like the writer's strike and the pandemic, really, really put a toll on the industry. But just to be working on these two, like you said, high profile American projects, just gratitude, man. That's what it is, because it always ebbs and flows, right? When it comes to when working in this industry. So to be a part of two different shows, telling wonderful stories as well too. Yeah, just thankful. I think that's what it comes down to. Very, very thankful for sure.